something with Vanessa too, because she talked about being engaged 4 separate times. If you're engaged 4 separate times and yet you haven't been married, are you kind of the problem? Because it kind of seems that way. Why are you getting into all of these engagements but not getting married? Is it because of the rings? Are you collecting the rings? They made a LeBron James joke, but she really might be a ring collector. Back to talk about episode 3 of Age of Attraction. I am just trying to watch one episode a day of this first season of this messy ass little show on Netflix. We left off with Vanelle and Jorge getting together and Vanelle learning that Jorge is 60. She went on and on about how he looks so young. And I mean, he looks good for his age, for sure. Does he look young? I mean, if you take out the obviously dyed beard that he has, maybe he looks a little younger. But his beard is so obviously dyed that I still feel like I felt with episode 2 that Vanelle was either a little slow or blinded by this attraction for this man that might remind her of her father or something. I don't know. Little weird. She was shocked and all, but she seems really into it. She feels maybe she was meant to come there and meet someone like him. And I know Janessa in the comments, shout out to Janessa, was talking about how Vanelle is celibate, and maybe that's why the kiss with Justin turned her off. It was too soon for her, but I don't know. There's something about Vanelle. I can't put my finger on it, but she is irking me with each episode. She's saying she hasn't felt like this with someone in a long time, and then she really went in for a kiss with Jorge. And there's just something about Vanelle and Jorge that it makes me cringe. They're a cringe couple, I'm sorry. They are the cringe couple of the season. And it is the fact that he is keeping information from her that is also bad. I mean, that is manipulative on his part, as others have said in the comments. I also want to talk about Macy Bentley in the comments, who said, I'd say part of the reason you thought Vanelle was older than she was is because she kept saying it would be best for someone not to be over 10 years older than her, but was okay with Jorge. Like, girl, what? Yeah, Vanelle is very confusing. She is just so into this Jorge connection after going on and on about someone being more than 10 years older is too old for her. But here she is, thinking she's falling in love with Jorge at the same moment that she's realizing that there's a 33-year-old age difference and that he is the same age as her parents. They're cringe. We'll talk about them a little more at the end when all of the couples got together at the end of episode 3. The couple that I do like is Fifer and Derek, because I think separately they're two of my favorite individual people on the show. And I feel like they are two people who are just trying to be authentically themselves, which is actually hard on reality television these days. But it's working for both of them so far, because in my discussions on these episodes so far this season, I've been trying to, and I've talked about it in these videos, trying to find within myself why some of the older man, younger woman couples were making me a little more uncomfortable, while the older woman, younger man couples were a little less so. But it really does come down to the individuals. Because Jorge and Vanelle make me cringe. I just don't think we're seeing good decision making. And I think you can also see their connection. And there's just something off about it. And then on top of that, you have Jorge keeping information from her. But Fifer and Derek, I feel like, want to put their trust in each other. And you can see that. You can see that, unlike Jorge, Derek is feeling guilty that he hasn't told Fifer about his kids yet. So he tells her about his kids. And she only wants to know if he wants more kids, because she really, really wants kids. and it does seem like he wants more kids. She was thinking that Derek was in his mid-30s. Not with that face, but it's a good thought. He looks good. I'm gonna stop dogging on him. It's just that he's so fit, but you could just tell his face is old. Like, we're all gonna get there. I'm getting there. I'm getting old. But Pfeifer is saying their connection is actually getting better every day that they are going through this connection. They bonded on having divorced parents and both growing up with their fathers. And I think the divorce for Derek, even talking about it in confessional, made him very emotional. And I think they're just two emotional people. But that's not a bad thing. I think sometimes people see emotions as a bad thing, and they can be bad if you are using them in an unhealthy way. But I think both of these people, Fifer and Derek, have these healthy emotions coming out as they are trying to find this connection with each other. And Derek is realizing that he has to open himself up to make sure his partner has all of him. And I think that is what's working for Fifer, because Fifer is saying in her confessional she's had some bad relationships that treated her very poorly. So she hasn't even worried about Derek's age because she feels the connection, and he makes her feel seen, and he gives her the space she needs. And it has taken a lot after those bad relationships for her to accept that she can come into her own person. And I think Derek is just bringing it out of her more. And I think we're actually seeing that play out on screen. So Fifer again got emotional in the promise room because she just said it was so nice to be treated so well by someone, which almost made me a little emotional. She must have had some really shitty relationships. We learned their ages. Derek is 43. She is 23. A 20-year age gap. She's a tiny bit younger than I thought she was. I thought she was like 25, 26, so I really wasn't that far off. Derek, I thought, was like 45, so I really wasn't that far off from him either. But I'm happy for them, despite this age gap. Despite her being so young, she seems to have a good head on her shoulders. And hopefully Derek actually has found himself as he's gotten older and can have a healthy relationship despite his parents getting a divorce. I say this a lot on this channel. I say this like probably 5 or 10 times a year, depending on all these shows I'm talking about. But we are all our childhood trauma. And a lot of the times it's because of our parents, but sometimes it's because of other things. But I kind of see that childhood trauma in both Fifer and Derek, and I hope they can be each other's anchors, but we will see how it all plays out. The other story, quickly to touch upon, was Wes and Jolene, that did not end up working out because of Jolene's fear in the situation. I feel like Joleen, unlike a lot of people that we saw in this episode, was not willing to open up for this show, which is fine, although I do question why she went on the show in the first place. Because yes, West is a flirt, and I think Joleen thought Wes was younger than he actually is. He's ended up being 30 and she's 48, an 18-year age gap, but I think it's something they could have worked on. I mean, I guess I will say Joleen was saying that Wes just wants fun and she's looking for something super serious for the next phase of her life, and she didn't know if he would really be ready to live together. But like, even in a long-term relationship, it should still be fun. There needs to be some kind of fun. If you still can't have fun in your long-term relationship, why are you even in the long-term relationship? That doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it ever will. If you don't enjoy each other's company, what's actually the point? So yeah, Jolene kind of was just very closed off and has a very like boxed way of thinking, And so I felt like their misconnection was definitely more so her fault than his fault. He was very confident in that connection. And I think if she just would have been more open, it actually could have worked out. But she ended up rejecting him. And he was, of course, disappointed because she didn't take him serious enough when I think he actually was serious. So that kind of sucked. And then the other storyline is like this soap opera quad triangle going on because Chris and Vanessa were dating at first, but Vanessa was feeling loved bombed, so she moved on to Logan and Chris moved on to Leah. But we didn't really get a lot of Chris and Leah or Vanessa and Logan for me to really sit here and judge both of those relationships. It seems as though Chris and Leah have a very physical relationship. So they are definitely one of those couples connecting on a more physical level. And he's been avoiding talking to Leah about Vanessa, that they even ended up kissing. But by the time they got to the promise room, I just didn't get enough time with Chris and Leah to really figure them out. Chris is 26. She is 41. He was thinking she was a little bit younger. Leah, unlike Jorge, is definitely a case of, black not cracking because she does look younger than 41, at least in the face. So, yeah, Chris and Leah, I don't really know what to think. I don't think Chris is as serious about a long-term thing here. He could be one of those people just trying to get famous on a Netflix show. But Leah also just kind of seems like she's just there for a good time too. So I don't know. They could just be a good physical connection until they fizzle out. I don't know. And then Vanessa and Logan, I don't think they're a good connection either. Logan had a rude comment at one point that there was a visible age gap between them. And I thought Logan looked older than he actually turned out to be. So I think he should maybe watch it with calling someone else looking so old. He ended up being 29 and Vanessa is 49. Another 20-year age gap here. But as annoying as Logan kind of is, Vanessa, there's something with Vanessa too, because she talked about being engaged 4 separate times. If you're engaged 4 separate times and yet you haven't been married, are you kind of the problem? Because it kind of seems that way. Why are you getting into all of these engagements but not getting married? Is it because of the rings? Are you collecting the rings? They made a LeBron James joke, but she really might be a ring collector. So that's probably just gonna be a mess. So at the end of episode 3 is when we had our first meetup between all of the couples. That's when we had a little drama between that quad triangle where Vanessa and Logan ended up talking to Leah and Chris. And Leah learned for the first time that Vanessa and Chris kissed on one of their dates. And Chris never told Leah this, but Logan clearly knew. So Vanessa told Logan. So Leah is feeling some kind of way about that. Pfeifer was also making comments in confessionals about Leah and Chris being more of a physical couple and she's not sure if they've connected on a more deeper level. But like I said earlier, I think both of them might just be there for a good time and not a long time. The big drama at the end, of course, comes from our old man Jorge, who is telling the guys, they're all talking about their children, all of the older guys, and Jorge tells the guys about his children before he's told Vanelle. Meanwhile, Vanelle's talking with the women, talking about how Jorge doesn't have any kids. And I fear this is just another bad look for both of them. It is clearly Jorge being manipulative, and it is Vanelle who continues to be, I just want to be nice and say naive, but I can't help but call her slow, because from every episode so far, Vanelle has just come off as slow. She really needs to get it together when it comes to judging other people, because she is quite misjudging Jorge, and she has the whole time. So that is all my thoughts on episode 3 of the show. I am enjoying the show. I got 2 more episodes to go that I will try and watch this weekend.